Would you love to learn my entire cryptocurrency portfolio and a full breakdown of what I have invested in and how much, including what narratives I have also invested in and why I personally believe this cryptocurrency portfolio could push me into the 9-figure club come the end of this bull run? If so, you are going to love this video. My name is Suppoman, the superhero of cryptocurrency. I have been around in cryptocurrency for 4 years, and I find the 100x microcap altcoin gems. If you're excited to learn about my cryptocurrency portfolio, make sure that you smash a like on this video, you subscribe to the Suppoman, and you hit the bell notification, because timing is everything and I don't want you to miss out on my insights. So the last time that I shared my portfolio was back at the beginning of 2019. And all I've got to say is that lots have changed. A lot of the percentages of what I had before has changed. So you will see this was basically the bulk of my portfolio. And then here we had all the small positions. Now I will say that a lot of these small positions have ended up being sold, but some of them have gone on to be huge, like Phantom ended up being a 200x from ICO when I invested in it in 2019. And my number one, which at the time was Hashgraph, which was my biggest investment at the time, that has now been superseded by the transition of altcoins going from micro to mid cap or mid cap to large cap. So a lot of the percentages have changed. But what I will also say is that I have sold a lot of these cryptocurrencies too. So for instance, Mainframe, Ontology, Zilliqa, Ethos, Stellar. I have sold a lot of these cryptocurrencies because I went through a transition in 2020 of selling a lot of the positions that I felt were expired compared to the cryptocurrencies that were more relevant and likely to take advantage of the bull run of 2020-2021. So now I feel I'm in a position to make the absolute most of the bull run. So before I go any further, a disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor and all cryptocurrency investments are risky. Do not copy my portfolio. Just because I've invested in it does not mean you should invest in it. Invest in the cryptocurrencies you personally believe in, have strong fundamentals, and you've done your own research and you believe they are good long-term holds. Also, all views and predictions expressed in this video are personal opinion and for educational purposes. So I'm going to firstly start with the major arcana. So I am going to be doing this in the form of tarot cards, right? So you've got your major positions, your minor positions, and then the future positions, all right? So my major cryptocurrencies are as follows. In at the number one position, the highest value in my portfolio is Cardano. Cardano comprises a humongous 18% of my portfolio. Now, if you were watching on my previous channel all the way back in 2019, you will have seen that I hugely increased my Cardano position just before I did a video. And I showed you why I invested in it in that video. And that has gone on to be arguably the best investment I have made. And Cardano I've invested in since 2017, since it was 1.9 cents. But I've only increased on positions with Cardano, to the extent now that I am a Cardano whale to an extent. Then in at my second place is BitMax. BitMax was a microcap. I invested in this when it was about worth $1 million market cap. It was 1 cent when I first invested in this. Now this has gone on to go to a $3 cryptocurrency, and now it is sitting at about 52 cents. But it is still one of my biggest. This was previously my biggest by far, but Cardano has since grown and has overtaken it dramatically. Then Hashgraph. Now Hashgraph is a cryptocurrency I invested in at private sale stage and actually is my biggest investment ever. I actually invested $250,000 into Hashgraph. Now this has not yet taken off, but it is still a sizable position in my portfolio. Now the reason why I love Hashgraph is simply because it is fast transactions. This can be a micropayments network of the future, and it is a massive solution to the Ethereum problem. Then Polygon. So Polygon is something that I have ridden since ICO. I invested in this at 0.2 cents and it has gone on to be $2. It has since retraced, but this was previously a micro cap that is nearly a large cap. This is exactly the kind of investment that I love to make. And this shows you that one strong investment can cancel out 30 bad investments because Polygon is a 1000x investment. Then Chainlink. So Chainlink I invested in last year. I took a huge position of 5 Bitcoins when it was $3, and it has since gone on to be a big part of my portfolio. But again, I don't think this one has truly grown yet. And this is a pivotal part of DeFi. This is what connects a lot of dApps to DeFi. So Chainlink, I personally believe, is got 7 to 10x potential in this bull run. Then Bitcoin. I am not going to be ever selling this Bitcoin. This Bitcoin is here to stay for the appreciation of Bitcoin as it heads towards a 7-figure value. Then Ethereum. Again, this was previously a large part of my portfolio, but I have used a lot of Ethereum to buy microcaps, which I hope will make the transition that Polygon has made of 1000x. And then last of all, Phantom, which again has gone from being a super microcap to a strong mid-cap recently. And I personally believe there is more to come with Phantom. Now you're going to recognize a pattern here. A lot of these are infrastructure projects because infrastructure is my bag. This is what I enjoy because infrastructure basically takes advantage of DeFi, NFTs, and all platforms that are actually built on these infrastructures. So it's a multiple narrative benefit investing in infrastructures from my personal perspective. On to the next page, the minor arcana. These are the ones that have grown tremendously well, but still I think has got huge room to grow for the rest of this bull run. So this comprises about 20% of my portfolio. So starting from the beginning, Solana. So I invested in Solana at $1.91. To be honest, I wish I'd invested more because this has gone on to 100x and potentially 200x in the not too distant future. So I wish I had got more of Solana, but 4% in my portfolio is actually huge. Anyway, so Solana again, high performance, scalable infrastructure. Then Adapad. Now Adapad came out only this week and I've taken a tremendously high position in Adapad. This actually comprises 3% already, and I think this has got a lot of room to the upside as Alonso gets released and the Cardano ecosystem, which you can see I'm heavily invested in anyway. I think that's going to be releasing even more multipliers over time. You know, Ethereum has got thousands of projects released under it, and Cardano has a handful of projects. So as Cardano grows with the projects, some of the high potential projects that are going to be coming out on Cardano, I want in on. And with Bluezilla's marketing, I definitely think that Adapad has got some strong legs. Then Utrust. Utrust is one of my OG investments. This has been in my portfolio for 4 years. Now I have actually sold half of my Utrust during the DeFi run last year, but I still hold another 50% of it, and that comprises still a big part of my portfolio. Now, Utrust I really like. Utrust is mainly an Ethereum-based micropayment solution. It's, in my opinion, the PayPal of cryptocurrency. So I think that when mass adoption comes in, there is going to be a need for a bridge between a website offering goods and cryptocurrency and blockchains and being able to pay via the Ethereum blockchain. And Utrust is that bridge, essentially like people wanting to buy from eBay and wanting to connect to their online bank account. So that's what I think Utrust is, and why I still hodl it, and why I still think it's got enormous potential. Then Stratos, another infrastructure I invested in big in early stage, has since gone on to make an improvement on what I have invested in initially. However, I still think that this has got huge legs, and I expect for this particular infrastructure to be in the major arcana in the next time I do a portfolio update. Then Mina Protocol. Again, another one that I called very early on at $1. Again, I invested relatively big in this because I made the mistake with Solana of not investing enough because a lot of my money was tied up. So I invested a bit bigger in Mina. I think Mina, again, has got a long way to go. It's got a lot of value to be exploited, and I want to be at the forefront of that because Mina is a unique scalable infrastructure. It is the smallest blockchain in the world, and I think that makes it different from all the other Ethereum killers. And this is going to give it a lot of appeal. Plus, it's invested in by Coinbase and Binance, so I think that's going to lead to a lot of liquidity. Then next, VeChain, another OG. Now, VeChain, I have one of their strength nodes, and this has been earning passive income for me for a while. So VTOR has been being earned for me for 3.5 years now. So VeChain, I also think, is going to eventually go over $1. Then BSC pads. So I've taken a big position in launch pads. As you can see, I've got AdaPad on there too. I want to be involved in early stage projects. This is where I've made my money. That's how I got the 1000x on Matic. That's how I got my 300x on BitMax. It's investing in them before they hit the exchange. BSC pad gives me that opportunity. I'm blue diamond on BSC pad, so it means that I get a private allocation along with a regular allocation. Then Refinable. This is probably my major NFT play. At the moment, it's a micro cap. It was previously a mid cap, but again, I think that Refinable is one of the better NFT plays I can make. It's an up and coming cryptocurrency, and I've got the patience to wait for this one. If it doesn't happen in this bull run, which I think it will, then it is going to happen eventually, because I know the guy who runs it. I think that they are making good concerted efforts to grow it and bring value to the community. So I'm happy to stick with Refinable, and as I said, this is my major NFT play. Then Marlin. Marlin is another scalable infrastructure, a lot like Phantom, a lot like Hashgraph, a lot like Matic. This one, I think, is at the very early stages of its kind of dominance in cryptocurrency. I think it could go a similar way to Matic. It's certainly promoted by the same people that got behind Matic, so I imagine the money flow will take this up eventually and in time. But again, another one that I'm very patient for. This is already 2x'd in just the last couple of days, so I think this is going to have a bigger run later on, because this is, I don't think, really acknowledged as an Ethereum killer, but believe me, this has massive legs and writes a new narrative of layer 0 protocols. And then last of all, Binance. Again, this one is a kind of 985x, but the amount I invested in it all the way back in 2017 when it was 72 cents was just like kind of hardly anything. Now, I have sold a lot of my Binance to get involved in Binance Smart Chain projects, but this still remains part of my kind of more, but this still has a decent size in my portfolio. So this is the future Arcana. These are what I predict will be my future powerhouses. So the one that just missed out on minor Arcana, you guessed it, is Convergence. Now, Convergence is a major micro cap that I've got a very heavy position in. So heavy, this nearly went into my minor Arcana, because I think it's genius. And I don't think that there's a lot of knowledge about what Convergence does. A lot like last year when I was talking about linear. Nobody knew what synthetics was. Giving you exposure to, stocks and security-based assets in a way which is regulatory. So they are essentially fractionalizing it, wrapping it so you can store it, but you are actually getting exposure to the actual asset, not a synthetic version of the asset. So I think Convergence takes stuff like synthetics and linear to another stage. So I am patient. I'm happy to wait for this to find the value, which I think it will. Then Star Atlas Polis. I'm not going to go through these in massive detail, but this is a GameFi play on Solana's blockchain. I am making more and more investments in the Solana ecosystem as it grows. Moon River, I've gotten in recently. This is only really 4x, 5x since I've gotten into it. So I think this has got a long way to travel in my portfolio, and I look forward to seeing what Moon River provides for my portfolio over time. Occam, obviously, Cardano-based launchpad. Ocean Protocol, personally speaking, I wish I had way more of this. I would love for this to be in my minor Arcana, but I missed the opportunity of getting into it in the July dip. I really should have bought more at 30 cents. I think this is a powerhouse big data sorting company. Then Illuvium, another GameFi play. Definity, this hasn't really gone up dramatically since I've bought it. Uniswap. Neo is another OG, which I personally believe is still strong in the China market. So I'm quite happy to see how that one continues to go. Shiba Inu, probably one of my only major positions on a shitcoin. So Blue Zill pads basically includes Tron pad, KCC pad, ETH pad. But instead of putting them all individually, I've put them all bunched up as Bluezilla pads. And again, this is another play like BSC pad of being able to get into innovative projects that I wouldn't ordinarily be able to get an allocation in. Then Polkadot, OneChain, another OG that's still there. It was one of the first cross-chain protocols that ever existed. And in fact, if anything, it was actually ahead of its time with the DeFi narrative. So OneChain still is there. It's still stored in my OneChain wallet, but I do imagine I'm probably going to sell this one. Hex I still own. I obviously bought Hex over a year ago. It is 100x'd since that position. I have sold some, really for Pulse Chain. So yeah, but Hex still in there and is still growing. Happy, Konami, Chain Guardians, Saito, Card Wallet, and NFT launch. So how does this now break down into narratives? Okay, so I have brought you the narratives that I think are going to be key for the bull run, such as GameFi, ADA, Matic, Solana, Parachains, DeFi 3.0, NFTs. So how are my investments split across these narratives? So the top narrative is infrastructure. Okay, so I like to get involved in the Ethereum killers. I like to get involved in cryptocurrencies that are responsible for building the future. Okay, so sometimes when you get involved in an individual dApp, you are limiting your chances of actually exploiting the infrastructure it belongs to. The infrastructure itself is made relevant by powerhouse dApps and the mixture of powerhouse to rubbish dApps. Ultimately, it brings more attention to the ecosystem. So I like to get involved in infrastructure stroke ecosystems because every narrative that comes up directly impacts the price of the infrastructure. So any DeFi or yield farming or liquidity protocols that open out on the infrastructures brings the infrastructure value up. So Phantom's ecosystem is growing, hence Phantom's going up. Solana's growing, hence Solana's going up. And ADA's is growing, so ADA's is going up. So it's like owning the land that multi-billion-dollar businesses are going to be built on. So that is why I like infrastructure. I like owning the roads, sometimes not necessarily owning the cars on them, because that gives you power. Cardano, I think, is a sub-narrative that has actually been going on for years. It's got a cult following. It's constantly growing in popularity, despite the fact there's not been much about the Cardano ecosystem that gives it value, except for its speculative value. But now the actual value is coming to Cardano, and as you can see, I'm so heavily invested in Cardano and the launch pads. I'm in each of the launch pads, including Cardstarter, Occam, and AdaPad. So I essentially have ring-fenced Cardano as the narrative that I personally love the most and has done the best for me in terms of my portfolio. Then micropayments. So by micropayments, I do include Utrust, but I also include very scalable infrastructures, basically incredibly high transactions per second. Because I think the future of digital cash lies in the form of these scalable infrastructures that allows you to be able to pay for a good or service instantly and not have to wait for 3-minute block times. So the Solanas, the Phantoms, the hash graphs, the scalable infrastructures that have incredibly high throughput, instant settlement, zero fees, or very minor fees go into micropayments. Pulse Chain is also going to go into this when this comes out. So micropayments, I think, is the future of adoption in cryptocurrency. Then CEXs and DEXs. So these are centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges. This is kind of a sub-narrative of DeFi, but I put this on its own because I believe that this is a business that replicates Wall Street. This is a way of being able to buy cryptos and securities and various NFTs via a decentralized platform like Uniswap, PancakeSwap, Convergence, etc. Then launchpads, 13%, which is quite large. This gives you an indication of how much I love getting involved in early stage projects and why I think early stage projects has the best potential. I was able to get into all of the Bluezilla pads and AdaPad particularly through launchpads. So therefore, launchpads take up a big part of my portfolio because I want in on projects I select as having powerhouse potential. Then pure DeFi, this includes yield farming, liquidity protocols, staking pools. This would class as 7%. So this is not including dexes. Then GameFi, this is a growing area. Now, because it's a growing area, it's relatively new, there's very little to go into. I am into Star Atlas, Chain Guardians, and a few others. This is an ecosystem that is growing, and as more projects come out, like Genopets, Three Kingdoms, and another one called Meta Wars, I am making more investments in this area. And then pure NFTs, as you can see, pretty minor. I guess this kind of demonstrates what NFTs mean to me. A lot of people see value in them. A lot of people want to invest in them. It's not really what I like. In cryptocurrency terms, I like to invest in the ecosystems that grow NFTs. Hence why my bigger play in infrastructure. So for instance, being in Binance Smart Chain means that Binance actually exploits Refinable and other NFT platforms, and NFT sales being facilitated through Binance Smart Chain. And similar with Ethereum. As that ecosystem grows enormously with NFTs, so does Ethereum's value. So I prefer to invest in the land versus the actual dApps. And then last of all, meme coins is 0.5%. So I have got some Shiba Inu, plus I have also got some shite coins that I bought from Binance Smart Chain, like Baby Doge, Nuke, and some others. So this is how the narratives are all spread out. And last of all, the risk profile. I am mainly about microcaps. Now you're going to see this risk profile and you're going to think, why is he invested so much in large caps and mid caps? Well, because I invested in most of these coins when they were micro caps. And so as they grow into mid caps or potentially large caps, then what happens is that actually what was high in micro caps makes it high in large or mid caps. So at this present time, if I was to analyze my risk profile and what I'm invested in, I am 40% in large caps. And a lot of this has come from the recent growth of Cardano and Solana, as well as Bitcoin's explosive value. I've been invested in Bitcoin since $1,000, so it's not a surprise really. This comprises a large part of my risk profile over 4 years. Then mid-caps 30%. So this has mainly been because of the transition from micro to mid-cap. So Bitmax, Matic, and a lot of the coins that have ended up doing 1000x or 100x have gone on to be mid-caps. And I imagine that over the next period, that the microcaps that I'm currently invested in are probably going to go into the mid-cap area. Then low caps, 10% is probably the lowest area for me, because I kind of go between one or two. It either goes from micro to mid or micro to dead. So low caps don't really get into low caps. So micro caps is 20%, which is huge. Now, microcaps being 20% is exactly why I have got 70% in large and mid caps. Because by going into microcaps, it gives me two things. Big transitions from a cryptocurrency going from microcap to mid to large cap, and or my preservation of some of the wealth I have generated from microcaps going into and feeding large caps along the way for, lower risk options, I suppose. So as you can see, even though I've been around 4 years, and somebody that's been around for as long as I have will typically have an 80% large cap portfolio, or probably 95% large caps, mid caps, and hardly any low to micro caps. So this shows you my risk appetite. This shows you how risky I am. The odd 5 big gainers, they cancel out 10x of the ones that have died. So that's why, if you go into riskier options, it can lead to life-changing money. But you've got to be fluid and you've got to do really good research. So, there we are, people. I am really keen to hear your views on my investment portfolio. I'd love to hear what you've got to say. And also let me know what you think I should probably increase on or decrease on. Let me know what you also are invested in and what your biggest investment in your portfolio is, or the top 5. Till next time, people, it is lights out, all out.